Welcome to OECD Podcast, where policy meets people.
Hello and welcome to OECD Podcast. We're here in Rio at the OECD Rural Development Conference, and I'm joined today by an expert on rural policy, COGITO COGITO, who's going to talk to us and unravel a lot of the elements of rural policy in Kazakhstan. So we're going to really travel today and hopefully learn a lot. So COGITO, I mean, you've traveled from Astana to Rio, from Kazakhstan to Brazil. I understand that it took quite some time and effort to get here. What was involved in your trip?
So first, when I saw that there will be a conference on rural development by OECD in the Latin America, I thought, oh, it's amazing to participate in such a conference. And we tried to apply. First of all, I thought that the conference will be closed, so not many people can participate. But I was amazed that this was open for everyone, and I've registered, and I was disturbing Betty Ann and Elena many times, asking, really, am I registered? Can I participate in the conference? Is it free? So many questions. And when we received our confirmation of the registration, so we started to book our flights, and it was really a very long journey. So it took us about more than 3 days to get to Rio. First of all, we flight from Astana to the Georgia, Kutaisi city. And after Kutaisi, we take a plane to the Rome. And we stayed a night here, just take a rest after the flight, two flights. And after Rome, the next day, we fly to the Lisbon. At the evening, we were at the Lisbon. We also have a nap in the Lisbon.
Okay.
And the next day morning, we fly to the Rio, and it was a 10-hour flight.
10 hours, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it is amazing. I'm first time in Brazil, first time in Rio. It's very beautiful city, very warm people. Yes. The conference is organized in a very high expertise level, and I'm happy to be here and happy to take many takeaways and many insights.
Yeah, no,
for our further work.
Distances and travel. I mean, 3 days I've never done 3 days. I've traveled from Paris to Sydney, London to Sydney many times. 24 hours is a pretty standard amount of time, but 3 days is admirable. Well done. So let's just get straight into the questions. Maybe, COGITO, you could start by introducing your work and explain a little bit how rural development fits into your responsibilities in Kazakhstan.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here today and also to attend the conference on rural development in Rio. It's a really amazing journey. In Kazakhstan, especially, I work on the research project that is dedicated to study rural development in northern parts of the Kazakhstan. So our research is dedicated to explore how rural development is happening in northern regions, because it is regions with very low population density, and also in Kazakhstan about more than 6,000 villages. And for example, what we count as a village, a place where live about 50 people. So each year we see that more than 200 villages are vanishing, disappearing from our territorial administrative map. So that is the mostly problem for the northern regions, because northern regions are facing, first of all, demographic problems like decreasing population, and also because of that, the rural population number is also rapidly decreasing. Because of that, so villages are disappearing. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and this is something we're seeing across the OECD with shrinking regions and these demographic issues. And there are certain policies, of course, that can address these problems. I mean, in terms of population, what's the split in Kazakhstan between rural and urban areas?
Mm-hmm. So during the Soviet Union time, our urban population used to be 53%, about that. And now we can see that urban population is about 60%. 63, and rural is about 37%. So we can see that urbanization is increasing and rural population is decreasing, and now it is about 37% of our population is living in rural areas, and about 5% of our GDP is comes from the agricultural sphere. Yes, agricultural industry.
The sector, yeah. And what would you say are some of the main reasons that are driving the increasing urbanization of Kazakhstan?
I think it's demographic trends and migration that happens all over the world. Yes, this is the trends of urbanization, very high urbanization, and big megapolis, big cities are attracting mostly youth from the rural areas. They come to study to cities, and they don't want to come back to their villages, and they stay at the cities. And this is also appearing on our economic structure. So the structure of the economy and the labor market is also changing due to this urbanization and migration processes. And I think mostly the urbanization is happening because of the push factors of the migration. So people migrate to cities in search of the better life quality. And government policies are trying to somehow increase the quality of life in rural areas, also to implement such kind of in situ urbanization, so to increase the quality of life in the rural areas. However, anyway, youth prepare to live in the cities.
Yes.
And now we can see that demographic composition of the rural areas are mostly elder people are living there, and all the youth are migrating to the cities.
Yep, so you've got this real split based on demographics, but I think Kazakhstan has a unique rural landscape shaped by long distances, low population density, as you said, and really diverse regions. So just maybe digging into the challenges, what do you see as the main rural development challenges today?
So I think the main rural development challenge today is the quality of life, the difference between the quality of life in the cities and in the rural areas. Despite the attempts of the state, of the government to increase the quality of life in the rural areas, anyway, there is a difference, and there is some kind of inequality in the social services like medical care, like education. And according to the results of the PISA, that looks at the quality of education, we can see the difference between rural school attainment and between the cities. So that is the problem that pushes population from the rural areas. And another problem, I think, is that the small farmers are somehow, despite the fact that they produce about 80% of the livestock in our market anyway, it is harder for family farmers to keep on their economic activity. So there is more opportunities for large-scale agribusiness, but for family farmers it is hard to keep their economic activity. And now our government is working on this issue because according to our law there is no such an jurisdiction do not differentiate family farmers. So there is just farmers, but no family farmers, and that's why they stay outside of the state support. So now state is working on a new law that will differentiate these family farmers and will allow them to also appeal for the subsidies, for the state support.
Okay, yeah. So I'm getting very much the impression that rural economies in Kazakhstan traditionally relied on agriculture and resource sectors. I mean, are there other steps that are being taken to diversify rural livelihoods and support small businesses, for example?
There is some programs that state is undertaking. For example, there is program named Aul Amanatı. This is the program that is dedicated to support small businesses in the rural areas, especially. It's about it's a subsidized rate of loans for the small farmers in the rural areas, and so they can, for example, use this money as a starting capital to buy some livestock, land, seeds, etc. And this especially shows some positive impact on the development of small businesses. And it is the program that is dedicated only for the rural areas and only for the agricultural sector. So, and this kind of programs, they help to increase the economic activity of the rural citizens. And also there is another programs that is dedicated to support the small and medium businesses in Kazakhstan, like Damu. This is also the subsidized loans, credits for the small and medium businesses, and they also can realize. They also can be realized in the rural areas. However, especially for the agricultural sector, there is separate programs that is dedicated to the rural citizens.
Sure. And I mean, just moving to one of the big D trends, as we call it, we've spoken about demographic change, but in terms of digital and the digital transformation, could you just give us a bit of an idea of what's the situation in Kazakhstan regarding connectivity, let's say between urban and rural areas, and then kind of what the government is doing to help those in rural areas, in places far from cities and built-up areas, to kind of cope with the digital transformation? What new technologies and support is being offered?
That you're right. That is the problem: the connectivity of the rural areas, and especially with the infrastructure, the roads, also as an internet connection. And so, I think in Kazakhstan, if I'm not mistaken, about 70% of the rural areas are covered by the internet, and 30% still do not have access to the internet. And it deteriorates the situation with the digital inequality. So in order to deal with, government is undertaking some actions, and one of them is implementing the Starlinks. So because cable internet is very expensive, and that's why they use these technologies like Starlink and etc. in order to cover all the rural areas with the internet and to connect them in this sphere. So I think these kind of initiatives will be continuing, and this is under the government's, I think, it is under the government's consideration always. So it's not the problem that is leaving behind, but it is the problem of which our government is taking care of.
Yes, and that's a very important factor actually that I'd like to touch upon as well, the multi-level governance. I mean, how do the local, regional and kind of federal government, national government in Kazakhstan operate? What are some of the dynamics there at the moment?
There is dynamics, yes, because state is now undertaking some kind of decentralization reforms. Okay. So if before the AKIMs, administrators of the rural areas they were designated by the federal government or by the regional government, now they are elected by the rural citizens themselves. So there is some decentralization. Also the fiscal decentralization is taking place because those elected administrators, they have freedom to plan the budget, to execute the budget, and to, for example, identify projects that they would like to implement in their villages. And this reform started recently, and I think they will give their results in near future. But now we are electing village AKIMs. So AKIMs, these are administrators at the village level, and now at the higher than village, it's a region. Mm-hmm. And they are elected now, and I think this decentralization reforms, they will also bring some dynamics to the development of the rural areas. So they are not ruled by the federal government or by the regional government, but they try to rule. So self-administration is self-administration is developing, and also local communities are actively participating in the rural governance. That is also the one of the dynamics that is happening. And also, I would like to mention that a large-scale agribusiness is also actively participating in the rural development. Mm-hmm. So they undertake many projects. For example, they put their input in development of the quality of education in the rural areas, and also they are developing telemedicine, because not all rural areas have access to the high quality medical assistance. Mm-hmm. And that's why they are developing such kind of digital instruments in the social service like medicine, and also the quality of education. They are somehow collaborating with the big schools in the cities, and they are providing methodological support for these rural schools.
Very good, yeah. Well, we're really doing the tour of all the D words: decentralization, digitalization, democracy. I mean, we touched upon as well, and also demographic factors, which are really changing the face of rural areas in Kazakhstan. Well, I mean, we don't have all day, obviously, but maybe we could just do a quick moment on climate adaptation, the environment. This is you very much at the start of that particular journey at the moment, but what is being done to support people in rural areas to be more resilient, to cope with the changes that we're seeing?
So you are very right saying that we are on the beginning of this journey, because first of all we were considering and we are concentrating our efforts on economic development of the rural areas, and now I think gradually we will come to the ecological and sustainability of the rural regions. And for now, I think the soil deterioration is one of the problems that is happening in Kazakhstan. Yes. And we are realizing that this is the problem that we should consider now in order to keep our sustainability in the future. Yeah. So some kind of elements of the circular economy is being implemented. For example, you know that nomads, naturally, they have very high connection and very high harmony with the nature. And we are trying to implement those old traditional methods of cattle breeding and livestock production in our agricultural sector. So maybe this is the points that we are now working on and trying to bring in our resilience and sustainability view. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Vision.
Okay, well, look, this is very much an OECD podcast. I know colleagues that have been traveling to Kazakhstan and that region for a long time, and I'm just thinking, as you know, Kazakhstan is a non-OECD member. What lessons do you think you'd like to leave with policymakers from OECD economies and beyond regarding rural policy and rural development in Kazakhstan?
So, attending the conference and hearing from the experts of the OECD about the rural development, I see that there is very common challenges that we face. They are very common in Kazakhstan and in OECD countries and in Latin America also. And the solutions, as I see, some of the solutions are already realized implemented in Kazakhstan. For example, connecting the public procurement with the local farmers, and some of the elements are already implemented, and caravans that provide health care for the rural population also was implemented in Kazakhstan. I see that many of the challenges are very common, and some of the solutions for these challenges are implemented in Kazakhstan. So I think we have common problems, and we have in some way common views in solving these challenges. And of course, OECD has very high expertise in policy recommendations, and I think many of them are we can implement in the Kazakhstan. But one of the problems that Kazakhstan is particularly facing is the long distance between the villages and between the cities. Because, for example, today and yesterday we were talking about the connection of the rural and urban areas. So it is the main source of the development for the rural areas, this connectivity between rural and urban. And for some parts of the Kazakhstan's rural areas, it is very hardly implementable because of the long distances. And I think this is the problem that we need to consider further. But in general, I think many of the policy recommendations that are implemented by OECD, they are applicable in Kazakhstan, and they should be, adopted.
Indeed, and I imagine the development of infrastructure, given the long distances between cities, as an Australian, I can definitely identify with that particular dynamic in our respective countries. But Janake, thank you so much for joining OECD Podcast today. I understand that you travelled so far and so long to get here, going through several different cities to get from Kazakhstan to Brazil. Thanks so much for coming and talking on OECD Podcast today. It's been a great chat.
Thank you for inviting me.
To listen to other OECD podcasts, find us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and SoundCloud.com/OECD.